Sorcerers here, and welcome back to What If Wednesday. It's been a while since I've done a Robot Wars one, and this is what I don't believe I've covered. In Robot Wars the 5th Wars, the grand final, when Razer and Firestorm 3 faced off against each other, Razer won on a judge's decision after a very close battle. But what if Firestorm 3 actually did enough to win? Well, already this would change quite a lot of things. Razer wouldn't win the 5th series of Robot Wars. Is that Bertie meowing? Hey Bertie, come on. And yeah, Firestorm would go on to face Bigger Brother in the grand final, and Razer would face Hypnodisc in the playoff. And what a playoff it would be! Like, two of the most destructive robots in history with nothing to lose, facing off against each other. Now, I did already go over what would happen if Razer and Hypnodisc fought in Series 5, so I'm not going to go too much into it again. If you really want a full depth analysis, then go and watch my previous Robot Wars What If video. I think it was titled What If Razer and Hypnodisc Fought in the Series 5 Grand Final. But anyway, in that setting, I think Hypnodisc would more likely win, so Hypnodisc would finish 3rd and Razer would be 4th, which means their seeding spots don't change for the 6th Wars. Yeah, they just keep their seeds from Series 5. Now, the grand final, Firestorm against Bigger Brother, a flipper frenzy, with both robots damaged from the grand final eliminator fights. I feel like absolutely everyone would be rallying to help both teams repair their robots and make sure they're fighting fit. But yeah, I feel like Firestorm has got this one. I feel like it's a bit too strong for Bigger Brother, considering in the real timeline it did beat Bigger Brother twice in the past, so this won't be any different. So yeah, Bigger Brother still ends up being 2nd, and Firestorm 3 wins the series. So yeah, this would mean that for the 6th Wars, as you can probably guess, Firestorm would be seeded 1, Bigger Brother would still be seeded 2 for that series, and then, like I said, Hypnodisc stays 3rd and Razer 4th. But yeah, not much changes, but yeah, the first, last and second to last heat would basically be swapped around. So yeah, Heat 1, Firestorm would win. Heat 2, Hypnodisc would win. Then all the other heats up to Heat K, nothing changes. Heat K, Razer wins, and yeah, Heat L stays the same. But now, just to keep it as close to the real timeline as possible, it would mean that Hypnodisc is in semi-final A instead of Razer. So we would have Hypnodisc face Wild Thing while the other battles stay the same, and naturally the Hypnodisc would defeat Wild Thing again. Then Loser's Melee plays out the same way, and again Firestorm would still face off against S3, again just to stick to the real timeline as much as possible, and Hypnodisc would face Danton Kier, and unfortunately Hypnodisc wouldn't have much luck here. It would be similar to that challenge belt fight in Extreme 2, and Hypnodisc would be flung out the arena. So Danton Kier would go through to the grand final, creating 2 upsets, defeating the top 2 from Series 3. So, moving on to semi-final number 2, again with the first round battles, the only thing that changes is Razer faces Tornado instead of Hypnodisc, and this would play out the same way as the real Series 6 grand final. So Tornado wins and Razer goes into the Loser's Melee with Bigger Brother and Spawn again. And yeah, neither of these flippers stand a chance against Razer, especially with Spawn again still having internal problems. But yeah, Razer just beats the both of them and gets back in, and would go on to face Terahertz while Tornado continues to beat Dominator 2. And yeah, the Razer and Terahertz fight, that plays out the same way as in the original timeline. So yeah, the grand final lineup is almost the same, but Danton Kier is there instead of Terahertz. So, with this being the case, we would have Razer fight Danton Kier while Firestorm fights Tornado. So yeah, Tornado beats Firestorm in the same way as the real timeline. Firestorm loses the crown. Razer beats Danton Kier on a judge's decision like in the original timeline. And yeah, the 2 flippers meet in the playoff, and it plays out the same way as their All-Stars fight would play out pretty much. So once again Firestorm finishes 3rd, and yeah, this means Razer and Tornado meet in the grand final again. But this time things would be a bit different. So Razer gets a new claw to attach to the end of the beak a little earlier, since the other one got bent in the previous fight, and this ends up playing out basically the same way as their European Championship fight, only the only difference is Razer's motors don't start burning out, and it would actually successfully be able to get Tornado to the pit and just try and have it suspend there. But even if they don't quite reach the pit, Razer would win on a judge's decision. So Razer becomes the Series 6 champion. Now it does make me wonder how the fight would, or what would happen regarding the European Championships, because they would end up fighting again and it would play out the same way, but it would create a bit of an awkward situation if they didn't return to defend the title. So either they didn't return and by default Tornado would be seeded 1st, or Vinnie Blood would leave the team and just Simon Scott and Ian Lewis would return with Razer to defend the title. Either way, despite Danton Kier, Bigger Brother and Terahertz being seeded in a different order, I don't think anything would change. I think things would still play out in Series 7 as the original timeline, with a few episodes in a different order, but yeah, we'd still have the same semi-finalists. So if Razer does return, then, well, it'll come back as the #1 seed, obviously. But I'm not going to go over what would happen in Series 7, because in a previous episode I already covered what would happen if Razer returned for Series 7. So yeah, that's basically what would happen if Firestorm 3 beat Razer on that judge's decision in the Series 5 Grand Final Eliminators. Firestorm would be the Series 5 champion. Razer does still become a champion, but would be the winner of Series 6 instead of Tornado, and Tornado never becomes the main series champion. Actually, come to think of it though, would Tornado even enter the European Championship, or even the third World Championship in this situation? That's something that I didn't quite think of. So it's probably unlikely in that scenario. I guess instead of Tornado, either Chaos 2 would enter, or Firestorm would instead. More likely Firestorm, because Chaos 2 was badly damaged in that All-Stars fight, and did retire after that one. Whereas in the third World Championship, I feel like Razer would replace Tornado and fight Storm 2 and Scar's Revenge instead. But I'm not sure who'd win that fight. I mean, if Storm 2 does, then the rest of the third World Championship plays out the same way. And if Razer wins, then it would fight Tough as Nails, and would probably struggle here. I feel like I covered this already. I mean, if Tough as Nails wins, then it'll be the first time that a robot from the UK doesn't win it. If Supernova fights Tough as Nails, well, I guess it could go either way. Either Tough as Nails would grab Supernova quite quickly and hit it, or Supernova would tear one of the wheels off. Otherwise, if Razer beats Tough as Nails, then I think it would have be okay against Supernova. It's better controlled, definitely. So in that situation, I reckon Razer would be able to win the World Championship for a third time in a row. But again, this is all just best guess, and yeah, that's basically what would happen. Thanks for watching.